August 1977. North London. A cassette tape. A man's voice coming out of an 11-year-old's mouth. He told them his name. His name was Bill Wilkins. He'd lived in that house, died there years before the Hodgsons ever moved in. Heart gave out in his armchair downstairs with the lamp still on. And that voice, the one coming out of an 11-year-old in 1977, knew which chair, knew which corner of the room, knew details the family didn't. 284 Green Street, council house, single mum named Peggy. 4 kids. Second oldest was Janet. She was 11. Quiet kid, average school marks. Liked drawing. Liked her dog. Wasn't the type of kid you'd expect any of this from. And that's part of what made it so unsettling for the people who watched it happen. Whatever this was, it didn't pick a kid with a flair for drama. It picked Janet. It started August 30th, knocking on the walls. 3 sharp raps, then nothing. Peggy thought it was the kids messing around. It wasn't. Then the chest of drawers slid across the bedroom floor on its own. Peggy pushed it back. It moved again. Then she called the police. The constable who showed up watched a chair lift off the floor in front of her. She wrote it in her report, and she left. She didn't know what to do with it either. By the end of the first week, the family was sleeping in one room together, lights on. Maurice Gross showed up in September, investigator with the Society for Psychical Research, brought a tape recorder, a notebook, and decades of skepticism. He'd debunked cases before. He expected to debunk this one. He didn't. Over 14 months, he documented more than 1,500 anomalous events. And one of the things he caught on tape was this. Quote, "Just before I died, I went blind, and then I had a hemorrhage, and I fell asleep, and I died in the chair in the corner downstairs." That's the voice, on tape, coming through an 11-year-old girl, talking about a man who died in that house years earlier. And here's the part that stops the room. Bill Wilkins' son later confirmed it, said the voice got the details right. Daily Mirror sent a photographer, Graham Morris. He showed up expecting maybe a hoax, maybe a depressed family looking for attention. He left with a roll of film he couldn't explain. Toys airborne. Bedding lifted off the bed. Some frames came out blurred at 1/250th of a second, which means whatever was in the frame, it was moving fast. Morris kept going back. So did other reporters. So did neighbors. 46 adults eventually filed witness statements. None of them retracted. By winter, the voice was coming out of Janet regularly. Deeper than her own by an octave. Older. Worn. Sounded like a man who'd been smoking 60 years. And it told them things. Bill's name. The room where he died. Where his belongings had been kept. Things the kids couldn't have looked up. The voice didn't whisper either. It argued. It cracked jokes. It cursed at the investigators. It carried on conversations. Might need to sit down for this part. I'll hold your hand. The next bit is where I stopped reading and went outside. Janet broke her silence in 2007. Channel 4 documentary. She was 41. They asked her what it was like, and here's what she said. Quote, "I felt used by a force that nobody understands." She gave that interview 30 years later as a grown woman, looking back at being 11. Still hadn't found a word for it. Said she didn't talk about it for decades because nobody wanted to hear it. Said she lost friends. Said her own kids didn't know about it until they were teenagers. Here's where it gets harder. Janet later admitted she faked some of it. Knocking on walls, bending spoons. Said she did it to see if the investigators would catch her. They did, sometimes. The Society for Psychical Research split on the case. Some called it genuine, some called it a hoax. One investigator named Anita Gregory said Janet was a clever kid putting on a show. Another said the voice phenomena specifically were never explained by any of Janet's admissions.
And there's this.
The BBC sent a team, broadcast engineers, calibrated equipment, the kind of people who don't believe in ghosts. They believe in audio levels and signal integrity. They recorded inside the house over multiple visits, took the tapes back to the studio, and the segments containing Janet's voice, according to Playfair's account, wouldn't play. Erased, magnetized, garbled. Not all the audio, just those parts. So either the tapes spontaneously failed in exactly the wrong places, or BBC's broadcast engineers were in on the hoax. Pick one.
Read that one more time.
BBC's broadcast engineers, the people who record live war zones for a living, came back with tapes that wouldn't play. And the part that wouldn't play was always the part with the voice. The voice phenomena themselves were never debunked. 2 investigators worked that case for 14 months. Same conclusion. 2 investigators, 30 years.
Honest answer?
I don't know. The case sits in the gap between what got debunked and what didn't. Guy Lyon Playfair was the second investigator. Writer, parapsychologist, skeptic when he started. He wrote about the case in 1980, and here's what he actually noted. Quote, "The voice had a habit of suddenly changing the topic. Then, it was a habit Janet also had." Playfair believed the case was real, and he wrote that down anyway, both things at once. The investigator who believed in poltergeists, pointing out the human echo in the voice. That's the case in one sentence. 2 grown men, 2 investigators, spent 30 years saying the same thing, and neither of them ever changed their story. The phenomena ended in October 1978, 14 months. Janet grew up, got married, had kids, worked as a teaching assistant, tried to leave it all behind. Then in 2007, the same year she gave that one interview, her son Brandon died. 18 years old, died in his sleep. No cause anyone could name. And Janet, in that same Channel 4 documentary, quote, "Maybe the spirit followed me." That's what she said about her son. The case didn't end in 1978. It ended whenever Janet stopped paying for it. One last thing from Janet, same interview, last thing she said about it. Quote, "I went through this and it was true. 11 years old. A voice that wasn't hers. And nobody, still, has explained the tape."
3 more files. 3 more questions. Pick whichever one keeps you up tonight.